Bob, how are you? Well, it's not even Columbus. Yes. On the corner. There you go. All right.
And screen, right? Just screen.
I get it.
Hi, Jack. Morning.
It's been renovated for about 30 years now.
Okay, everyone, so we are streaming, we are recording, we have a quorum, and Chair, we can start whenever you are ready.
Very good, let's call the meeting to order. The first order of business is to announce the next meeting, which will be in, well, maybe this room on September 23rd at 8:30 in the morning. With that, I'd like to swear in the staff, everybody from the staff, raise your right hand. You swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So say I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. And would you do the board roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Whitman,
Here.
Ms. Maniaci.
Here.
Ms. Bartley is absent today, Ms. Brown,
Here.
Mr. Loversich,
Here.
Mr. Pongonis,
Here.
Ms. Rittler,
Here.
Mr. Slannon. Here. Okay, we do have a quorum.
Very good, thank you. And could you do the overview of the hearing format for us, please?
Yes, so I will present the staff report and application materials. And then the applicant will come to the presenter table and sit, be sworn in, and asked to present their materials. And then any registered speakers will approach the podium, or members of the public will be sworn in and provided 3 minutes each to speak at this podium here. And then commissioners will discuss the case and ask any questions if needed.
Very good. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting, please?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Are there any questions, comments, additions, deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Those opposed, thanks, minutes are approved. I think with that, we are ready to go forward with the first application, please.
All right, so this is for this. So this application is for 55 East Main Street, which is located on the south side of East Main Street between South High and South 3rd Streets. The applicant is seeking commission approval to fence in an existing surface parking lot with decorative screening and landscaping along East Main Street, and an 8-foot no-climb fence set back from East Main Street and along Noble Alley, as well as adding a new dumpster enclosure at the southeast corner of the lot. And the existing parking lot will be repaired and restriped. The applicant was last before the commission at the July 2025 hearing, where the commission approved the application on the condition that the landscape beds fronting East Main Street be increased in size to 20 feet by 20 feet. After further analysis, the applicant found that the paved area in front of the no-climb fence is needed for vehicle circulation, any emergency vehicle parking, as well as maintenance access to the existing billboard. As such, they are seeking commission approval on an updated proposal, which includes using slope pillar caps, extending the eastern planting bed from 40 feet to 20 feet in length, and extending back the middle and western planting beds to 8 feet. All other proposal elements will remain the same than the July 2025 proposal. And the submission includes site plans, renderings, elevations, material details, and cut sheets. And I'll just flip to those materials really quick. So this first drawing just shows what the area would look like if they followed the conditions of approval. There's 20 by 20 feet. So you can see there'll be one way in and one way out. They're hoping for some circulation room here to do like a U kind of maneuver with the vehicle before having to go into the fenced area. And that's not possible with this. And then the billboard here, they're looking to gain access to that, which would be a little bit difficult with the green space there, and it limits parking for emergency vehicles. So they updated the proposal to this. So still extending those landscape beds back a little bit to have some additional green space. And then they did lengthen this green space area along where the billboard is. So you have those site plans there. And then we still have the renderings that we saw last time. A couple of views there. And then they updated this site plan and this view here showing the updated proposal for the green space. And then their material details, and it just goes on with that no-climb fence. So after review, the downtown design guidelines state that high-quality materials should be incorporated into parking lot screening with the use of masonry. They also recommend that dumpsters be located to the rear of the primary building, accessed by an alley, and if not feasible, be fully screened by the use of an access gate and walls and fencing constructed of materials compatible with the primary building. And the proposal is consistent with the downtown design guidelines. Thank you.
All right, would the applicants please come up and join us? Yep. Looks like we've got enough chairs.
Yes, sir.
Could you identify yourselves for the record, please?
I'm Randy Knox. I'm the Assistant Director of Construction for Franklin County PFM.
Brent Kramer with Kramer Engineers.
Dave Masterson, Chief Financial and Human Resources Officer for the Sheriff's Office.
Major Nate Smith over investigations, which will be the tenant over at 5557.
Okay, thank you. Could you raise your right hands? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and so say I do?
I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. Okay, how do we proceed? We've seen it before. We had suggested some adjustments and changes. It looks like you have done that, not necessarily what was discussed. Say again. So at any rate, do you want to go ahead and catch us up here on where you are on this thing?
Yeah, so really following what Belka said, originally the commission had recommended 20-foot landscape bed, so 3-foot landscape fence and then 17 additional feet as shown on this plan. And after that meeting, we sat down with the county folks and discussed it from a safety standpoint. They were not happy about having landscape be that close to the fence for two reasons. One, having someone potentially hide the landscape close to the exit of the facility, and then two, they wanted vehicle access if an emergency vehicle had to pull up without going inside the fenced area, just on the other side of the landscape. So if we go to the next plan, the proposed plan we came up with was moving the fence 1 foot back. So you have 4-foot landscape, the fence with the pillars, and then another 4 foot of landscape behind that, or 8 foot of total landscape. And then at the billboard, unfortunately, that does need some access, and the pillars kind of in the post is in the way, so we have that as a 4-foot bed with nothing behind it. And that was
explain what maintenance is required, what pavement maintenance is required for the billboard.
they have to pull up a bucket truck to get up onto the billboard to swap out signs or replace light fixtures that shine down on it.
Well, where does that bucket truck have to go? Why can't it be in the exit lane?
They could probably access from the exit lane, so we would be open to potentially maybe angling that landscape bed. We just want to have something off the post to it, not have the landscape right up around the post to it, but if needed, we could add some additional landscaping behind that section as well.
What does it do if the post is in the landscape? I'm not sure I understand that. That seems to be something we don't want to have. Is that correct?
We were just trying to maintain clearance to the existing posts in case they need to get to it for some reason and try to keep as much of the space under the billboard.
Like to remove it?
We wish.
Well, yeah, chances are there's a lease on it and that's another issue. Yeah. Okay. Questions? Any other thoughts from your end?
From a tenant perspective, one of the big concerns with the 20-foot extension of those beds
Could you
is
speak up, please?
this on?
Yeah, if it's not, we'll make sure you
Okay.
be heard here. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, from a tenant perspective, one of the issues we have regarding the 20-foot bed extension that was requested, And obviously that lane closest to the building is a turn lane. We want to have access to be able to, this being an active law enforcement building, we want to have access to have some additional parking, as mentioned by Brett early on. If somebody needs to pull in to go into the building to take care of something without going through the fence and coming back out, it just seemed to lend itself to that type of necessity. It's not going to be a constant parking spot, but it does allow a law enforcement vehicle to pull in either to the right side there or even under the billboard as necessary if there needs to be something taken care of inside the building for a quick moment. And it will prevent parking on the street and then blocking that turn lane is one of the biggest reasons that we're requesting the 20-foot be reduced to 8 feet.
And this is, sorry, this is Scott. I just wanted to add to that, the applicant did meet with city staff in the planning division ahead of this meeting, just to talk through the dilemma that they were wrestling with. And, you know, we encourage, instead of just reverting back to the original, that we try to meet in the middle in some way. And this is a solution that was given to us, given their need for vehicle circulation before the no climb fence and then access to the billboard. And I also wanted to reiterate to you that this site plan will go through site engineering. So, you know, traffic engineering will review it as well in terms of circulation, all of that.
Two comments that might be suggestions that would.
You might speak up a
Oh,
bit.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, it was not.
Okay.
I have two comments that might be suggestions working within restraints. So one is maybe the pavement that is outside of the fence could be different kind of pavement, you know, still functional, still work with the vehicles, but something that is more decorative, that looks, a little more, you know, has character, just is not severe as the pavement that, you know, that you have for the parking lot. And then the 4-foot extension you have south of the outer fence, maybe that landscape could be a couple of trees, something that has a little more height. And that might be able to shade that area and screen that area and kind of balance the fact that you have a large pavement area behind that. So I'm thinking maybe those are two things to explore that would keep the functionality of what you need, but also soften it and make it, you know, have more curb appeal.
If I could respond to, there's a, it's also important to note, or at least understand that we have suspects coming in and out, so people in our custody on a pretty regular basis that'll be coming in and out. So security and line of sight through there is very important to us as well. For the general public, it's, you know, high population area down. We don't want to take any risk to our security. Trees, especially people being able to climb trees or hide in bushes. We're trying to meet in the middle where we can provide security to the downtown area while still, you know, beautifying it, but not sacrificing security in the interim.
The landscaping that you're proposing, how tall will that be? I can't remember from.
What's it like?
Oh, I see, over there, so it's a couple of feet.
Yeah, we have other renderings if you don't mind switching over, Belkis. So just small shrubs and some grasses.
Are you worried that people can hide behind what's drawn?
I'm not worried about that. What's drawn, I think if it gets too far back and where you're getting up against the fence, and then if we're talking about trees, you know, stability.
Trees.
I'm sorry.
No,
She just talked about trees.
Mentioned a tree
Um,
that had more height, but the pavement, is that something that you would consider?
What is that? Got to pay. Going in concrete, maybe I'm trying to think of options.
what do you mean? Are you thinking something other than, what is it? I'm certain, obviously it's asphalt pavement, I'm certain.
Old asphalt, Dave.
Oh,
Something about this point of.
what do you do with parks? Will that be sealed and cleaned up or
Yes.
repaved, or what's your thought? What is that? What do you?
Thinking the city will
what?
take it. We're gonna mill it down. We're gonna fix all the low spots, restripe everything.
Oh, so it'll be obviously and then repaint.
Yeah,
So it'll be a new surface for what?
not all new. It's gonna be milled and the low places we'll patch and then we're gonna seal coat it all and stripe it.
So go look at.
Tell us why you could not do the 4-foot, planting section. I mean, for what it's worth, even the 4-foot that you put behind there adds some depth to that landscape section there with the fence in the middle. I don't understand why you could not put the 4-foot section on the east part there, on the, just east of your, exit lane there.
I think
Well,
we could probably get permission from the billboard company. I called them, they're in Columbus here,
Yeah,
Lamar, and they didn't have any strict guidelines. They just said as much access as can be maintained, we'd appreciate.
yeah.
I think if I set up a meeting, I could talk them into providing a 4-foot bed so we have consistency.
Is that is that a ladder that they have to get up on that?
There's a ladder in the
They
back.
get up from a truck.
There's a ladder on the backside, but they said they need access, paved access to get a truck there with a bucket to get
But
up.
if it's in this, I mean, 4 feet, it's this thing, you know, I mean, it's not necessarily, even if you put some pavers at the base of the post, I'm just thinking about.
Yeah, so the ladder's on the backside of that post.
Yeah.
If we have to give them some pavers to get access, I think they'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay. Well, there's one thing that maybe adds just a little bit of, something positive to the landscaping. Are there any other questions or comments from this group? I'm gonna just ask for a motion, to approve, and then everybody can discuss it if you want to. Are there any comments from anybody in the audience? Okay, could I have a motion to approve this then, please? Very aggressively, contemplating. I'd like to get it on the table.
I vote to approve
Okay,
with the 4-foot, the,
and then that was a second. You don't have to vote for it, obviously, if it's up. But, there's a second. So the motion is on the table. Questions, comments?
This is staff. Is the motion moving to approve what is here, or is the motion?
I'm sorry.
Moving to approve on the condition that 4 feet of depth be added to the eastern planting bed?
Yes, okay,
Thank you.
okay. So that's what our motion would be. Any other thoughts from this group? Anything, would you have anything else to say on this
Anything from you guys?
item?
No.
Okay, anything from the audience? Folks, let's talk about where's everybody?
I mean, in terms of the, adding the 4 foot deep to the, you know.
Would be the
It's right, the builder. I do think that's a great idea. We think it's just that first day. And I understand all the constraints you have, and we just, you know, wish that maybe when you study, you know, since you're going to be putting new asphalt there anyway, just some of that area in that area, what is that, north of the fence, to just consider how that would look and maybe different paving strategy there might enhance it, even if it's partial. Because again, you're limited with your landscaping for security purposes. So maybe, you know, anything you can pick up that can give it character.
Okay, there's a comment. Any other thoughts, comments? Here we go. I'm gonna ask for the, vote on this. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Let's raise hands so we can do a count, please. Okay, and you're counting. Those opposed?
Aye.
You're counting as well. And Malcolm's counting. You got three, it looks like 3 opposed, 3 nays, and any abstentions? 3 nays, and you counted the ayes. I think it was 4.
It passes 4 to 3.
4 to 3. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next case, please.
All right, so this is for, it's going in and out. This is for 150 East Gay Street, which is the location of the Continental Tower Apartments. This was, for context, this was the big office to residential conversion of this tower. Located on the east side of Gay Street between North LaSalle Street and North 4th Street. The applicant is seeking commission approval to install a 16-foot by 27-foot temporary window graphic. And the window graphic consists of digitally printed opaque vinyl mounted to the window exterior. And submitted materials include sign details, a site plan, renderings, and a specification sheet. Typically, these are things that can be staff approved, but given the size and the fact that it's not transparent, the applicant chose to, instead of tweaking the design, they chose to just bring it to the commission for review. But this is the building, if you all remember that, and then this is the temporary graphic that they're hoping to install for the now leasing information. And then this is the site plan, just noting the corner there where it will be installed. And those are the materials. After review, the downtown design guidelines state that window signs should be transparent in overall design and cumulatively be limited to 25% of the total glass area. The guidelines also state that pedestrian-oriented signage is preferred in core district, and the proposal is generally consistent with the downtown design guidelines, except for those two features. Thank you.
All right, could the applicants come up, please? Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you identify yourselves for the record, please?
Yes, Paul Lido with Sign Effects.
I'm Brian Quinn. I'm the project engineer and owner's representative.
Great. Could you raise your right hands? Do you swear in front of the testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. Before we get started, what is the percentage on this glass that this thing occupies?
This would be 100%.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Not that one window.
We look at it in the bays of glass, and so they want to take up those two bays, and so of those, or of this these rectangles.
Yeah,
So it's 14.3%
Oh, all the glass
elevation
Of
of the first floor.
And so how do we do that standard when you say, I mean, if you have 8 windows along there?
Yeah.
Occupied, is that considered 100
We
within any given
This is
window?
not really a window sign. This is a sign of our window. Under the definition of a window sign.
That's what he said.
Okay.
Yeah, because we look for, of that rectangle, we look for 25% max of that to be taken up with a sign.
Okay.
And there, in this case, it's 100%. So we'd want a fourth of it. And then on top of that, for it to be transparent in nature. So sometimes you can play, maybe remove a shape out of there, or just have the wording only, and then the rest be transparent or something like that. Is what we would look for it to be staff approved. And then if we want to do anything beyond that, that's for y'all's consideration.
And then the second question I would have is, I hear the word temporary, so we always have to ask what that means here. What's temporary?
Temporary means we can take it down at any time. Obviously, it's for leasing, so I feel like we're just opening the building, so it's to get more visibility and eyes on the building right now, especially people driving by 4th Street.
So in other words, if it's 100% leased or 96% leased in 2 years or so, you may or may not take it down because you still.
What happens behind, what's the space inside that?
It's just a big open lobby in there.
So the same space that the other windows.
Yes, yeah, you can see you can see all through the other windows.
And it's just on this south side then, right?
Yes.
Not on the east.
Correct.
4th Street.
And quite honestly, facing south, the product life for that is probably only 5 to 7 years. That would be like the absolute max. Because at that point, the product would start deteriorating.
Okay.
Well, right out in front of this, in the plaza, there's a big pile that has a sign on it now. So that, why do you need a bigger sign?
So that sign's getting redone. That's like a temporary sock, essentially, we're calling it. We put over that while we're waiting to get this bigger sign installed. So
Then you'll take the.
Yes.
What's underneath it, I forget.
So it's an old standalone sign that just says Continental Tower. It's actually historic, so we got to keep it as is, and we're going to show that off once we get the bigger sign, hopefully.
So it won't take the lease, it's just a building identification.
Yes, that's existing, yeah.
And that's an existing sign there then, huh?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's on the right side of that picture.
The materials that you're using, the film, is that opaque or is it somewhat,
It's opaque.
It's completely opaque. And are there any other options with that material or similar materials where you could still see graphics, but it would be not, the background would not be as opaque? There would be some.
There are, but given the lighting there with the trees in the front and everything, if you go to a perforated material, we just felt it wouldn't pop enough off of the glass. It would just be
It's
lost.
gonna be on the inside of the glass? Or
No, it'd be on the outside of the glass.
I'll tell you, my thought is, I don't have a problem with considering all the glass along there, and I don't have a problem with Lisa kind of signs, the 5 to 7 year thing, to me, doesn't even begin to cut it. I mean, I personally, if I were gonna say I can go along with this, I'd want to hear a timeline, and I specifically, and, you know, let's say you're still working on something, you still need it, and you want to come back and talk about an extension, I could see doing something like that.
Mhm.
And I think I wouldn't mind starting off with something like, I don't know, 18 months or something like that. Which I'm gonna guess you guys are gonna think that kind of number, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 18 months, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, that works for me. Yeah, I think that's great.
Just make good deals and lease right up.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Hopefully we're leased up by then, so.
Well, you're gonna have such a great sign, you can't.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's my thought. I don't know what anybody else has. Now, that's the real estate developer's perspective.
Yeah, that's working in real estate development, it needs to pop when you're
Right.
driving down the street to attract
It's a big building.
It's a huge building, and normally it's about 18 to 24 months at least in the world.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say, I agree with doing the term. We do that a lot of different places. I think 2 years would be a great number. That way, that's about halfway through the life of the product, so you could even evaluate the product at that time. And given it's facing south, it may need replaced even at that time, you know, if it gets too much heat.
Thoughts, comments from the commission, please?
I feel comfortable with the 2 years.
Anything from the audience? Okay.
I move approval of the temporary 24 months.
Second.
And there's a second, Sonia, thank you. Comments, questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you.
Great.
Thank you,
very
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Last one, it's not the worst thing.
All right, so this next case, I'm just bringing it up on Google here. This is for 350 East Broad Street. So we're talking about this building right here. Okay, so this building, you can see it's next to the Vera. All right, so this is located at the northwest corner of East Broad Street and South Grant Avenue. The site consists of one parcel with a 5-story commercial building built in 1960 with a surface parking lot in the rear. The applicant is seeking commission approval to demolish the existing structure and grass seed the entire lot. The applicant was last before the Downtown Commission in January of 2022 with a demolition request of the building where it was denied. Differences since the last proposal include the building being struck with vehicles on 2 separate occasions and the issuance of a notice of unsafe building from the Department of Building and Zoning Services in May of 2025. A notice of unsafe building is defined in section 4109 of the Columbus Building Code as all buildings or structures which are structurally unsafe or not provided with adequate egress or which constitute a fire hazard or are otherwise dangerous to human life and all uncompleted building for which there are no valid building permits. The building emergency order is defined in section 4109.08 of the Columbus Building Code as any building structure or part thereof is in such hazardous condition in the building official's opinion, it prevents an unreasonable and imminent threat to the life or safety of any person or persons. So I just wanted to note the difference between the two and know that they have a notice of unsafe building is what we have right now for this structure. Submitted materials include a request letter, existing site photos, site plans, land survey, May 2025 building order, May 2025 traffic crash report, and existing building photos. So the letter's here, I'm not going to read it, but it's there. Just some existing photos of the building. And then, this is what they are, no, this is the land survey here. And then this is what they are proposing, so just, seeding the lot essentially, post demolition. And then, there's another site plan there, what they're proposing. And then here's the notice of unsafe building, the crash report, and some photos right after when the vehicle struck the building, and some additional photos there. So after review, the downtown district code requires a certificate of appropriateness for demolitions, and that a replacement use or plan detailing how the property will be maintained be approved by the downtown commission prior to issuance of the demolition permit. The guidelines note that maximizing the investment potential of a given site is encouraged, but so is preservation of existing building stock. The guidelines encourage the commissioners to consider if the building is in a deteriorated state such that it cannot be economically be rehabilitated, and if demolition would allow for new development in which there, in their opinion, is of greater significance to the character of the surrounding area. And in summary, the commission will need to consider if demolition would allow for new development, which in their opinion is of greater significance to the character of the surrounding area, and or the house light report is needed for the existing building prior to its demolition. Thank you.
Okay, so is there a recommendation from the, no, not really from the staff?
That is not my place to give, that is for y'all's consideration.
Um,
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself.
okay, would the applicants come up, please?
Good morning.
Could you identify yourselves for the record, please?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm Leslie Pomeroy. I'm the Director of Facilities for Lawyers Development.
Drew Myers with EV 2016 LLC.
Dan O'Hara with the building.
Right, could you raise your right hands? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So say I do.
I do.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
Well,
Would you like to present?
yes, thank you. Foremost, we'd like to thank you.
Excuse me, could you, we're having a little hard time hearing, and it's not your fault, but we just want to make sure these speakers work, if you
Yep.
would.
Is this better?
That, I don't know, if it might be a little better.
All right. Can you hear me now?
No, much better. Thank you.
All right. Foremost, we'd like to thank you for allowing us to present this case a second time. I would like to say that Lawyers Development normally redevelops existing buildings rather than building new. So we are really never in the situation of wanting to demolish buildings if they can be saved. So we do appreciate that. We've owned this property now for almost 10 years, and it's clear to us at this point that the building itself has become an impediment to redevelopment of this site. We have engaged several brokers over the years, and they have all told us the same thing, that potential developers really do not want to have to spend the money or the time up front on remediating the environmental hazards that are present in this building, or really navigating the process of taking the structure down. It's also clear to us that the building's physical configuration does not really allow for redevelopment, and making repairs is really not economically viable at this point. The vehicle strike in May did not help our cause. Where the vehicle hit, to repair that, and the foundation that was kind of dislodged on that lower level, we have gotten estimates it's about $100,000 just to repair that damage. Unfortunately, we no sooner had plywood up on the building than thieves took the plywood down, got into the building, gutted all the switchgear, took all the copper pipe out of the building. So now we're looking at probably, at least a couple $100,000 to replace what was stolen, in addition to the repairs that were already needed. We're really just at the point where the building does not warrant any more investment. The part of the roof on the upper level has started to cave in. I did bring some additional pictures that I did not include with the application. But we do have mold on site as well, and just the physical configuration of the floor plates is never going to lend itself to redevelopment. Anything else from you?
Would you like our staff to pass the photos?
Sure. Oh, thank you.
Have you explored a new building or a new project on that side?
We've looked at it in the past, the size of the building and all that would be encompassed, as Leslie said, we don't do a lot of new buildings, we do mostly renovations and rehabs, so this is out of character for us. We've just never been able to make the economics work for anything that we're fairly narrow focused, so somebody may come in here and say, hey, an 8-story building might make it, something that we just aren't into. So we've just not found the economics to do it ourselves.
Are you looking to sell the property if you can, or to hold on to it and have somebody and team up with somebody else to redevelop it? Can you explain what your goals are, and given what you said, what you would envision?
Yes, we've had the building available for sale, and we intend rebooting that listing once we're able to, if we're able to demolish this. We see this as really a necessary first step in the marketing process to have a successful marketing campaign and finding ultimately a developer who will build a new project here.
Since I think it was 2022, was it 2022 when you were here last?
Yes.
What did you have the building listed at that point?
Yes.
Yes.
From 2022 to now, can you explain a little bit about what happened if you had the building listed, if you were thinking of redeveloping it?
Yes, we have had it for sale, and the consistent feedback has been from the brokers we've engaged that ultimately, the building will come down as part of a new development, of course, but also that the building itself, the structure itself, is really an impediment in the sense that two things, as Leslie mentioned, it represents significant dollars on the part of a buyer up front to do that kind of pre-development work, and secondly, the building really kind of betrays the overall site potential in that the current footprint doesn't extend the full depth of the site. And so visually, kind of at first glance, the ultimate development opportunity, the site itself appears much smaller than it really is due to the fact that it doesn't extend to the far, the rear surface parking, which is another 12 spots.
And the other thing is that there's a level that's half down. So that makes another impediment for somebody developing. May go all the way down to a full story, or they may, eliminate that. So that's another impediment. A lot of people don't like it because you get the lobby on a kind of a half level, and so it's broken. The first two levels are kind of broken up. So it's along with the fact that everyone has been telling us that the best thing is to take this out of the equation, and that would help market the property.
So you said you've owned it for 10 years now?
Yes.
And did you guys have tenants there 10 years ago?
No.
So it's always been empty?
Yes.
Yes.
What improvements did you make when you bought the property?
We didn't do a lot to the building because we were, at the time we bought it, we thought somebody would come in and want to use this single source rental and maybe take the whole building, but that turned out to be not viable. And so we didn't do a lot of improvements until we had some potential tenants on board.
Within the first few years, it became apparent that the leasing opportunity was somewhat limited, ultimately just due to the parking equation in the Discovery District area. So ultimately, our focus became pivoting, marketing for sales, securing the building. So.
Yes.
Other questions, comments? We have a quandary here a little bit because we have a policy that, I think if someone came in with a great project, it'd be pretty easy discussion. And that's the way we have done things. And what that does is help us avoid holes in the streetscape, which this would be. Um, I guess I'd understand a little bit if a deal comes along and the building has to go away. So there's X number of dollars, but those X number of dollars are there anyway, whether you spend them today or whether some deal walks in the door and they say, hey, we'll take it, but we want the building gone. That kind of thing. And then that, we don't have the gaping hole on Broad Street. So.
I think that we've just been in the position where we've got consistent feedback from brokers that that's an impediment, and it's almost a chicken or egg, that would allow somebody to come in with less risk and all that. Yes, that would allow somebody to come in, if the building's down and they know what's there, site-wise and all that, that's all taken care of, that would be something that would be more viable. And it's been consistent through a number of brokers. I don't know how many brokers we've had.
Three or four,
Yeah, I was going to say, over the years, trying to either rent it and then we pivoted to a sale. And we've just not had it. And I understand the board's position, but essentially there's a hole there right now. And that you've probably got a building that really isn't salvageable and, may be able to be marketed better.
But not structurally unsound, correct?
There is a portion of it that is the whole building. I think the structural engineer would say that.
Just, the report that the building department issued noted that a portion of the lower level foundation wall was dislodged when the vehicle hit it. You can kind of see it best in the one photograph.
Right, fixable.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, just generally, unlikely to know here. I think the problem with this property is that you're hemmed in by two properties that I think are unlikely to redevelop from a private perspective. One's a pocket park for the state building, the other is an access drive to the state building. The property is extremely small and hard to redevelop. It's the size of a residential lot. And I think this building feels like it's scaled appropriately, and I think probably doesn't have large footprints like a big or large floor plate like a big office user might want, but that's the size building that's going to fit on this property. So I think renovated, new glass, new entry, new signage, DLC, I think that's a better approach here for me, unless another development plan was proposed.
Do you have insurance from the traffic accidents? Do you have insurance that would pay for the repairs and the vandalism? Because you said that, first there were the damage from the two traffic accidents, and then when it was secured, somebody came and took out a lot of the copper. So do you have
the damage would have to be filed through the person who struck the building, not us. From that standpoint. So the vandalism would be partially covered, but not totally. And again, we're kind of throwing good money after that, to come in there and put new switchgear that will be torn out, is part of it. But we're fighting against the person who struck the building, and that's been undecided yet. So.
When you've spoken to your brokers, have you ever thought of something where if there's a potential buyer that if the deal was made or they wanted the property that you would demo it yourself, that would be part of the deal, like if you buy it, we will demo it, we will take care of all of this, and then you will, but at least then you'd have somebody saying, yes, we're committed, and then you'd be able to move forward with a demo permit because you could have some redevelopment plan in place that the new owners would be proposing.
Well, ultimately, I think the feedback from the brokerage community has been that, the waters are really muddied by the actual presence of the building. It creates uncertainty in the mind of the market as to what the current status is. If someone sees plywood up, suddenly does that become a situation in which now you're further investing in the building and in doing tenant build outs, or is it a stopgap measure? There really is just a lack of clarity as to what's going on that site. And unfortunately, it's really the building itself that's creating, that ambiguity. I think ultimately what incentivizes or what triggers someone to pick up the phone, I think everyone sees, developable sites is very clear. And this is obviously a very prominent corner. Unfortunately, again, the building there just creates a situation where the future is really unclear as to what is going on. If we had a development site, I think we'd have more phone calls.
When you say unclear what's going on, unclear with when the building's demolished, what exactly is the foundation? Do you mean that they're not quite sure when the building's demolished, what they're getting in terms of the site itself?
Is the building going to remain, or will it be scraped and ultimately new construction will take its place? Is what I'm
I
referring
think
to.
if somebody wanted to make the deal and said, we want to redevelop it, we want to put a new building there, and part of the deal is that you would demo it for them, that, because you said a lot of people don't want to demo it themselves, and then, that would, the price would be negotiated.
That's certainly possible, but again, I think it's just getting that initial interest, and again, having that clarity in the market as to, is the building staying? Does it have to stay? What can we do there? What are kind of the menu of options for a buyer ultimately going forward?
I think, the only problem with that line of thought is we've had lots and lots of deals here where people have come in and they wanted to put a new project somewhere and the building has to go away, and so demolition permit is issued. And we're also careful about making sure there's a real deal. We want people to have some financing and actually be able to get the deal done, and that has happened over the years numbers of times. So, it's not as though that, somebody can't, oh gosh, there's a building there, I can't see beyond that. I think one other interesting comment, Jeff just made a moment ago, this thing is what, they do totally, for what it's worth, remove any possibility for anybody to come in and rehab what's there. And again, haven't been through that building, but there are a lot of rehab projects that go on and so on. And in terms of the size and the scale of the thing, that probably is not really a bad size and scale there, because you gotta have it. Again, I'm speaking without having been in the building. Okay, so I'm gonna move this along here. I think we're gonna just go ahead and try to do a vote on here. Just what's everybody's, any other thoughts or comments?
Yeah, I think generally I'm just challenged, I guess, with the timing. There's no a box for what's beyond the demolition part, right? So that's kind of where I'm stuck to similarly, Jack.
And I'm a no as it relates to, I think to be proactive and to develop the vision maybe yourself, and then maybe market that vision for how that property gets redeveloped, maybe starts to diminish the optics of what it looks like today, or what it could be tomorrow. I think that's on you, the ownership, to say, if we want to sell this property, redevelop this property, we whether we want to partner or sell it, I think it's on you to formulate that vision, help everyone understand what the potential is of this property.
I'm going to, are there any comments from the audience out here, please? Anything? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and ask again for a motion to approve this. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Again, any other questions or comments from anybody?
I guess my comment is I completely understand how difficult this is for you, and that you've really been trying very hard to figure out what to do. And I know it's not easy, but I would feel comfortable if, let's say, you explore different ways to try to secure development. Because if we're just demolishing the building and having no plan, and we have no idea in terms of timeline, if at that point, because of the, some of the constraints of the property to begin with, if it would take years and years to get somebody to buy it, you kind of have no idea about that. So I think trying to explore with brokers what would be different ways to market it, what would be different ways that potential buyers would consider, like I was saying, maybe even the idea that it would be demoed by you if they agree, or other ideas of what Jeff was saying and Tom was saying, trying to have a vision for it and marking that vision, and definitely getting rid of the plywood and cleaning it up so that it doesn't, totally turn people off. So that's where I'm at, but I understand that it is a very difficult situation.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, do we have a motion on the floor?
Yeah.
And a second? Okay, so, any other comments? Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed say aye, same sign. And you will count, okay, the motion fails. So,
Okay, thank you.
okay, next case.
All right, so this is for 530 West Spring Street. I do want to note that this likely will not be the final address. So I did note for parceling of it, the address will likely change. So this address is located at the southwest corner of West Nationwide Boulevard and Hawkins Street, just south of Bloor.com Field, which is currently a surface parking lot. The office building to the south fronting West Spring Street is not a part of the application and will remain. I'm just gonna go to it real quick so you know. Okay. So this is Bloor.com Field, and then just to the south, we're just talking about this parking lot only, not this building. So it'll be kind of cut there. All right. So the applicant is seeking commission feedback to construct a 21-story residential tower and 9-story office and hotel tower above a 5-story mixed-use podium. Building programming will include 244 apartment units with indoor and outdoor living spaces, 50,000 square feet of office, an 88-room hotel, an event space, and a restaurant. The podium will provide approximately 600 parking, public and privately dedicated parking spaces with vehicular access from Nationwide Boulevard, Hawkins Street, and Spring Street. The street level will include publicly available event spaces for outdoor dining, indoor-outdoor retail, and restaurant areas fronting West Nationwide Boulevard. The north and east elevations will also feature art murals on floors 2 through 5. Materials include brick, metal trim, and panels, cementatious panel, wood look soffits, glazing, and porcelain pavers. And their application packet is pretty long, so I'll just let them, move through their presentation. But the analysis is that the guidelines recommend commercial ground floor uses, high quality durable materials, lighting that minimizes light spill, transparent clear storefronts, art along blank walls, landscaping, and rooftop structures that are complementary to the primary building. The guideline notes that structured parking is preferred, but that the exterior design should minimize the monotony of its underlying structure system through wall mass and window openings in variation in color, material, and/or texture. And the application is generally consistent with the downtown design guidelines, as noted in the basis table below. As the proposal develops, staff anticipates further details on the exterior lighting. Thank you.
All right, would the applicant come forward, please join us? Is there someone there from the applicant? Perfect. Good. If you need another chair, feel free to pull up and share that.
I think we're good with
You all
three.
set?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Could you identify yourselves for the record, please?
Sure. Benji Ward, partner and design director for Gensler.
Sean O'Brien, architect with Gensler.
Jonathan Barnes, architect with Gensler.
Could you raise your right hands? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and so say I did?
I do.
Thanks so much.
I want to congratulate John Barnes on receiving the AI gold medal this year.
Wow, fantastic.
Hey,
Congratulations.
That's why I'm here.
Okay, can we, just to start, is this a conceptual application?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It said request for, so, go ahead. Thank you.
So actually my job was to make introductions, but you did that, so that's great. But I did want to take just a brief moment, if I could, to recognize how extraordinary this time is right now for Columbus, with the growth that we're seeing citywide and the focus downtown. I don't think we've seen this sort of thing from my experience in about 60 years. I mean, we all recognize how much effort and investment and risk and support it takes to make this happen from like all sides of the table. So I just wanted to sort of set that up. So yes, I'm John Barnes, co-managing director of Gainesville Columbus with my partner Cheryl Schultz back here. Benji Ward is the design lead from our Chicago office. Sean Gorman is the residential lead, also from our Chicago office. Any other questions in terms of the legal and zoning can be answered by Molly Gwynn from Ice Miller and Joe Sugar, counsel for the owner.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for having us. We're really excited to talk to you about this great project. So I guess we want to start off with, well, why are we doing this here and why are we doing it now? And it makes sense to talk about the sort of this site as a viable extension of the existing arena district. We have lower .com field right next to us, and Astor Park. There's lots going on in this development, and we see this within the next few years becoming a destination and a district unto itself. It is what we also see is and hard not to see, the untapped potential of the proximity to the Columbus Crews soccer field. We think that game day could be an amazing time for this development. We have incredible engagement on the street, which we know is really important for viable neighborhoods. So that's a big piece of what we're going to be talking about today. We also just think that it's an amazing spot in the city, very, very close to the river, connected to all of the great recreation paths and trails, and the views of the city are really quite spectacular because you're a little bit further out, a little further to the west. And we know that there is a demand for residential development in the city, and we're providing over 240 units in this development as well. So I was going to ask if we could go to page 9. Yeah, okay, so yeah, and so obviously creating a really wonderful place for people to live, work, eat, and play. And then let's go to page 11 if we could. Yeah, so creating a destination. I mean, one of the big deals of this is, and again, that untapped potential for a game day is really apparent here. We have great patios, we've got great retail and food and beverage space that is on both at grade and also up on a patio level. And then we also, Sean's going to talk about this in a minute, we have this incredible amenity above the parking on our terrace level, which is also meant to be for events and potentially for game day events as well, which we're really excited about. Engagement on the street, again, really, really important, not only on game day, but we need this to be a 365-day-a-year engagement. So we think that some of the architectural moves we've made really creates a really wonderful space, not only to engage with, but just to walk by in the neighborhood. So planting and places for people to sort of hang out is really important to us. And then if we could go to the next page, we wanted to talk here about the identity of the building. So one of the really great parts of the building is we do have parking. We have 600 spaces for parking, and instead of just sort of creating a huge parking block and not really thinking about it from a cladding standpoint, we have the ability to potentially engage public mural artists or local artists that could come in and create something really wonderful here that will again create a sense of culture, a sense of art, a sense of place here. And then we want to talk about the identity of the different people who are coming here. So in any great mixed-use development, you have to have the ability to give people their own spaces, their own identity, their own entries. And so we've got a hotel that's got its own entry. We've got the residents have their own entry. Office people have their own entry. We've got, again, great engagement for fans on the base, and then obviously for people who are coming here for events. So all of these people need to be kept separate at certain times, but they also need to come together at certain times. We'll talk about that in this next slide. So beyond keeping people separate in mixed-use developments, you also want to create moments where they mix. And mixing is really important for building community, creating safety, socialization. And we love the fact that we've got all these different places, from a rooftop all the way on top of the tower to engagement at the base, and then this really wonderful terrace level that, again, Sean will be talking to us about in a second. We can go to the next one. It goes without saying that the views, especially at the top of the building, well, the terrace will have great views. The views from the top of the building are going to be spectacular, not only for nature, but for the city views as well. We think this is going to be a wonderful amenity for anyone who wants to live here or work here. And then we can go to the next one. And then what I'd like to say at the end of my piece is we think about this development not just as a development unto itself, but really part of a continuum of development in this neighborhood. We want to make sure we're a great neighbor. Again, that engagement that we have and the fact that there are all these sort of a mix of uses means that this could be a real 24-hour and 7-day-a-week development that will, again, help with game days, but also days where there may not be games. We want to make sure that this is active, not only for safety, but just for the energy of the neighborhood. And again, a great place to live, work, play, eat, and stay. So with that, Sean.
Thank you. Benji, could we flip to page 17, please?
Can you grab that mic there a little bit? Thank you.
Sorry.
I want to be able to hear you.
Appreciate it. The diagrammatic building section we're looking at here is cut in the east-west direction, looking north, and it's a good way for us to visualize the different components, the different uses that Benji described. On the right-hand side, the residential tower, level 25 up at the top, that's the private residential amenities, indoor, outdoor amenities specific to the residents of the building. Level 6, also amenities, but shared with the building. Level 6 has got the mix of all the different uses that Benji was talking about before. On the left-hand side, I should go back and note, Benji mentioned 240 residential units, 244 is the current plan, 12,700 square foot floor plates works out to an average of about 800 square feet per unit. That varies. 20% of these units will be affordable, in keeping with the tax abatement program, and the residents will share the ground floor with the remaining uses that we'll talk about in just a minute. On the left-hand side, the top 3 levels in blue, that's 45,000 square feet of Class A office building. Below that, 4 levels of boutique hotel, currently looking at 88 hotel keys. Level 6 below that, again, the shared amenity level. Before we move off this slide, I just want to mention the garage. 4 elevated levels of parking for the 600 spaces, 50,000 square feet, floor plates each. Most of the floor plate is flat. We're looking at the section here with the circulation to get cars up and down, but we've got some premiums built in these flat floor plates and a 14-foot clear ceiling height that provides a better environment in the garage, more light, more ventilation, and also gives us the opportunity in the future, should parking demand change and things become different, we can convert this to active space along the perimeter with eyes on the street. So that's an important part of our thinking ahead in our strategy here. If we could advance 2 slides to level 1, I want to draw our attention first to Nationwide Boulevard on the north. We've taken great pains to create these active, public, engaging terraces at ground level, and these are outdoor dining, outdoor seating. These are private reservable spaces on game day that line the front of the garage. And this is a key component for us to meet the goal of activating the neighborhood, this interaction between the public realm and the building, and making sure it's a place for people. The level behind that, you can see with the horizontal lines. Benji mentioned this on one of the earlier images. This is an elevated, covered outdoor terrace, and we have multiple points of ramps, elevators, stairs, lots of opportunities for people to come and go. And this continuous covered circulation allows indoor, outdoor activation with the storefronts, for the restaurant, for the cafe, and then each of the different uses have their own lobbies, their own front doors, their own active 24-hour security lobbies. And this covered network of terraces acts as like the network to bring people indoors and outdoors. Behind the active uses, we've got the parking, the loading, and the building services discreetly tucked behind. And we should mention that we've got vehicular access on 3 of the 4 corners to make sure that cars can come and go quickly and easily during peak traffic. If we could advance to page 24, I'd like to go to level 6. This is our amenity level, and this is probably the most unique and maybe impactful way that we're using the program to really create a destination. We've got the shared residential amenities on the right, the hotel amenities on the left. So these will be fitness spaces, lounge spaces, meeting rooms, gathering places for people private within each use group, but also shared where they can mingle together. We have an outdoor pool, outdoor roof garden spaces, and the event space. We've got an outdoor bar. The residential area will flex so that while events are being hosted, it's accessible to the public. They can come up and enjoy the deck and enter the crown jewel that we have sitting between the 2 buildings is this pavilion with service available to host even a small music gathering or a small art venue, some sort of exposition like that in the middle of this, what we're calling the pavilion. It's a glass-clad retractable roof structure. And if you go to the next page, there's an image of that. This is the bird's eye view of the pavilion with the retractable roof open. The next page after this, a view from the outdoor bar that's doubling as a cafe for residents during the morning time, looking at the pavilion. The next page after this, a view of the pool tucked south behind the pavilion. And we like this to show the kind of the balance between, we've got these different uses, some spaces public, some spaces private, and sharing those and finding the balance of how they work together. Moving on, I think the last image I'll touch on, page 34. This is, I just want to get to the materiality quick. This is the long view of our front corner. We're still in concept, so we're still working through all the detailing and the pricing, but the intent right now, the light grid that you're seeing on the residential tower is a metal or cement insulated panel cladding that frames the residential units, frames the recessed balconies. That's the treatment for most of the residential facade, except for on the left, where we've got floor-to-ceiling windows. We felt that glass was important here to really emphasize that visual connection that Benji mentioned down the river to the skyline. That's a primary view corridor for us. So metal and glass railings. The residential tower sits above the parking garage podium. What we've done with the same material at the parking podium, but treating it differently to break up the scale and break up the massing, and also use those breaks to signal the points of entry. So just kind of telegraphing to the community, where do you come in and interact with the building? The primary material is we're envisioning a flexible fabric. This is a permeable facade that comes in many different colors, like the silver gray you're seeing on the left that relates to the residential panel. But this facade gives us the opportunity on the right, you can see it's printed. So it gives us the opportunity for art installation or some building graphic that really, can signal our identity. Along the north, the cladding and the frame around that facade is of masonry. So we're bringing the kind of pedestrian scale of the masonry material up from the ground plane, wrapping it around the garage, and using that same material on the far tower, the west tower. We're extending that up to also enclose the hotel rooms, and then you can see the frame starting to pull away at the glacier facade at the office users up at the top. So we're using the architecture and the articulation to communicate and telegraph what's going on within the building. We are using the geometry of the building to cover and create shade for pedestrian spaces at the ground plane, and we're bringing together a dynamic mix of of uses to this space for a dynamic neighborhood. With that, I think we open up to questions.
I had a question, and I might not have been reading the plan correctly, so, you know, you can give me clarification. So it looks like, and first of all, it's a gorgeous project and extremely exciting. But I wanted to ask you, it looks like, your amenities on the ground level are sort of like maybe one level up. And it looks like this, like, let's take the north nationwide facade, that you do have the outdoor dining seating. But I'm wondering, because the amenities are up, you know, the transparency, I should say, is up that level of stairs, of monumental stairs, or you take a elevator up from an elevator lobby, how that will look in the winter months, if it will have more of a feeling of fortress where when you're walking on that ground level, there isn't much transparency, you have to be up a level. And the thing that, you know, the outdoor dining that you're relying on to be engaging will not be available. So I'm just wondering if, first of all, I'm understanding that properly and reading it properly, and what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I'll take it first and you can chime in. So, yeah, that's one of the more challenging pieces of this project. The fact is that, and you may notice that there is an 8-foot FEMA line here for a flood zone. So by code, we are not allowed to put occupiable space at grade. So the idea is that we bring people up gently to this next level. And so what happens is you do have a level that does not have a lot of programming, but we thought that it would be great, again, on game day and other days, to create almost like a landscape park atmosphere where people can either rent those or come there and enjoy, you know, either before or after the game, you know, with their family and friends. And I think that your point during the winter is a really good one. And so I think what we do is work with a landscape architect to create something that feels like it's still engaging, that it's still thoughtful, that we would want to sort of hide that facade at that level and create something that is, you know, more attractive to look at, both, you know, in the winter and then obviously on days that we don't have games.
And even what's happening, even architecturally on that level, maybe working with texture or something decorative that's in that, you know, complements the project.
Yeah.
Too. So maybe just studying all of that and looking at those off months and how that's still engaging and visually interesting on that pedestrian.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah.
I think this is an program is really complex. It seems like you've done a really good job of getting all the pieces and parts to work. It looks very expensive to me. I hope it doesn't all get PAE'd later.
Yeah.
And it would be a great addition to Cindy. I think it brings some things down to that end of the street that are really necessary or missing now. Entertainment, food, and all that. I think it's going to be terrific.
Great. Thank you very much.
Other questions or comments, please?
Amazing project. Question, is there shared parking with the building that's to the south? As it relates to your parking garage, all that parking lot goes away, this sort of lot currently?
To the south across the street?
No, behind your building.
Just to the south.
There's access to Spring Street across that site. It's the same owner for both. So the southwestern corner, we can access vehicles out to Spring Street. In terms of the parking, the spaces in the parking garage are going to be some private dedicated to the building, some public to support the peak demand of the arena district. I would imagine, and we haven't gotten into the details yet, but I would imagine that this could also serve as parking for the building to the south if we needed to. And we've looked at aligning the levels of the floors of this building so that in the future, if we wanted to connect through and provide like a direct access for people to park in our garage and still access the building to the south, they could do so via Skybridge or something like that. What's the thing?
The ground floor plan.
Yeah.
Site plan.
You know what page that is? I don't have all 40 memorized.
Yeah, I think you were just on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
One more.
Oh,
So that there.
okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
So there you're showing what Sean was mentioning on the bottom left, that's the southwest corner. That access to the parking, it shares the access of the lot of the next door building, right? So we're trying to keep as many access points open as possible. Even though same ownership, it'll be a separate property, but that'll be another access point.
Okay, other comments?
I have a question. Again, I echo my peers. Great project. It's so exciting. Can't wait to come hang out there.
Thank you.
Your event building, when it's no event, what's the usage of that space? Is it just, what are you doing?
So, yeah, this is an important mix of how these spaces come together. So when it's not reserved for a private event, it's open to the residents, and it's a shared common pavilion. During even the winter months, we can close the roof, still have it feel like this great outdoor space, and it's a place that we're going to furnish and fit out in such a way that people are going to want to be there and hang out there when you have it, open. When it's not used for an event, it's open to the hotel guests and the building residents.
You said 20% affordable housing? How are you distributing that 20% in the residential tower?
I would say TBD. Well, we have a lot of work to do in terms of the unit designs and the mix and locations. But so that's something we're working towards. Yeah.
This is staff, so those units will they'll be no different than the market rate units, so there can't be legally any difference. In terms of what bedroom size they are, that's up for determination, but they'll be distributed legally, as the market rate units are. They're not congregated in one area.
Yeah, that's what we're heading at.
Okay, great. Any other, again, this is conceptual, so, comments.
No, definitely exciting, very vibrant development coming. I'm curious to know a little bit more about the kind of textured facade and how you guys are thinking about the scale. I see like the parking podium has the murals. I think it's great, like the color and vibrancy. You mentioned a little bit about the materiality, so curious a little bit more what you're thinking.
Yeah, I can start. So let's start with the masonry. So when we looked at masonry, again, this is very conceptual. So within schematic design and design development, we'll be continuing to look at different options. But at this point, we are looking at brick, and whether that's real brick or thin brick on some sort of precast panel. That's again TBD, depending on construction costs, but we think it's going to be really great. And again, Sean had suggested this sort of wraps over to the west and up the next building, so providing some sort of continuity with the building that we think is great. And then for the parking garage, we think that could be some sort of metal mesh or some sort of perforated metal that would give ventilation to the parking, but also a really interesting facade that could have some sort of reflection to help reflect the river and the trees along the rec path, which we think would be great. And then just to talk a little bit about the tower itself, the Resi Tower, we are looking at potential for GeoForce panels, but then also considering the use of metal as well. But we're going to continue to look at that, shape and size of the windows. We do want it to have a texture. We don't want it to feel sort of flat. So that's one of the reasons we have this sort of punched opening. And there are details, and you probably can't see here, but there's some interesting details that we're trying to work into it. Yeah, you can kind of see here the lines that we're creating within it. So it should, at many times during the day, sort of reflect the sun in interesting ways. And I think as the sun moves around the building, that the building will continually look a little bit different every time of day, which is another sort of nice thing about the development.
Great. Well, I think it looks great. I think you're hearing comments from this group that sounds like very exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
Back soon.
Yeah, we'd like to, for sure.
One more thing before you leave. I noticed that the office tower, I'm just wondering with the office tower, it's a smaller building. Are there views to the downtown from the office tower? Are you able, because you have that view diagram, and it looked like maybe that tower isn't able, that hotel tower isn't able to get the downtown views. And I'm wondering if you think that's not that important because you have the shared space that has that have those views, that have those views. So I'm just wondering if you could speak about that.
Yeah, and we've looked at this. I don't think we have views in the package, unfortunately, but we do think that probably 3/4 of those floor plates will have views of downtown. They won't be straight on, right? Because you're obviously you have another tower in the way. But if you look at how it's situated here, if you look off to the right, you can imagine seeing the southern part of the downtown skyline, and then also again really wonderful views to the river and
Right, the river
yeah.
views a strong
Yeah.
view for you too. Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Great. Thanks for coming in. Looks good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so this next application is for 34 South 4th Street. I'm just gonna go to the location right now, so we're oriented. Easiest thing is, this is the YWCA building just to the south. And this parking lot is what we're talking about, so just north of the YWCA building. So, there we go. So YWCA, and then this is the parking lot, and then this is actually going to be that elevated parkway, right, that sits right abutting it. All right. So this site consists of 6 parcels with a surface parking lot located at the southwest corner of South 4th Street and East Capitol Street. The applicant is seeking commission feedback. So this is conceptual. That's an error on my part there. They're seeking commission feedback to construct a 12-story mixed-use building, including structured parking, first floor commercial space, 218 1- and 2-bedroom apartment units, a dog park, and other exterior amenity spaces. Exterior materials include brick, metal panels, stucco, limestone cladding, copper, stained steel metal siding, and green roof awnings. Submitted materials include a site plan, floor plans, elevations, sections, material details, and renderings. And I'll let the applicant go through their packet and present that. For analysis, the downtown design guidelines recommend commercial ground floor uses, high quality durable materials, lighting that minimizes light spill, transparent clear storefronts, art along blank walls, landscaping, and rooftop structures that are complementary to the primary building. The guidelines note that structured parking is preferred, but that the exterior design should minimize the monotony of its underlying structure system through wall mass and window openings and variation in color, material, and/or texture. And this application is generally consistent with the downtown design guidelines, as noted in the basis table below. And as the proposal develops, staff anticipates further details on landscaping and exterior lighting. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Could you identify yourselves for the record, please?
Josh Thomas with Kephart Architects.
Tom Morano with the Edwards Companies.
Very good. Could you raise your right hands? Do you swear in front of the testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Belkis, for the introduction, and we're excited to be here presenting to the commission today for what is a 12-story high-rise there at Capitol and 4th Street. This will be a mixed-use development with retail space on the ground floor. If we go to the 3rd slide, we have the site plan. Along 4th Street, we'll have that retail space that is mostly on that east facade to the south, the leasing center to the northeast corner there. And then as we make our way around the north side of the building on Capitol, we have some tenant and garage entry. And then moving to Lizelle, we have our garage entry onto the building. Along the south of the YMCA, we have a move-in access aisle for the tenants. Going to be some designed alley type experience there, a little bit more than just some pavement that leads into the dog park that's specific to the tenants of this building. As we move up to, I believe, slide 5 or 6, we get to the 3rd floor of this project where the apartments really begin. So we have 2 floors of structured parking, 2 levels of basement, 9 levels of residential, and a rooftop amenity at our 12th floor. Our level 3 here, we have a passive courtyard for the use of the tenants. We've improved the structure in this area to allow for a higher level of landscape design, larger trees. This is really going to be more of a passive refuge for the tenants, kind of an elevated pocket park for the project. As we continue up the building, we see our residential levels, and as we arrive at level 12, we have our rooftop amenity, rooftop pool, clubhouse, grilling stations that we have in this area. We do have shared amenities across the different properties with Edwards companies, so there's going to be access from that elevated bridge onto our level 3 in order for tenants from various buildings to utilize the amenities of this building as well as share with the other buildings. And that occurs off of the north property of the bit development at level 3. If we move to the last slide, we took inspiration from a property that has a classical architecture to it for the 2 towers that we see on the right-hand and left-hand side of and then that black masonry base. This will be in this style of like a Greek door and cladded with the limestone elements. So we have a 2-story component that really starts to speak to some of the YMCA architecture adjacent. We have the dispatch tower in the neighborhood that also has that landscape. And we look at this property as having a sister directly across the street and the lot that is effectively the same size and footprint, so we can mimic this in a similar way. As we move up the building, we see black storefront right now, and as our windows within this classical limestone form. And then we've got natural copper that we're looking at our mansard roof level, allowing that to patina over time. The returns on those towers are masonry, and we have masonry from the grade level up to level 3. We do transition to stucco once we're level 3 and above off of those limestone towers. So if you see the re-entrant corner there in their photo, that's where we really transition from the masonry tower on the sides, limestone to the front, and that's stucco as we enter into the courtyard area of that level 3. The masonry base does wrap the entire building on all 4 sides. Colors are intended to be cream and with the limestone, the masonry matching somewhat consistent with that, and then the stucco being similar. So it'll have a fairly homogeneous color palette there. The black windows and the limestone, more of the residential openings, we're looking at a vinyl or aluminum window that'll start to kind of blend into the facade itself and not create such a prominent opening as we are intending on the limestone portion.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Try that again. Yes. So within our residential portion of the stucco, we'll have white openings as opposed to the black that we have on the limestone facade. So we'll have more of a contrast within the limestone than we will have in our stucco.
Meaning the window frames would be white?
Correct. Yeah.
With cream kind of stucco.
With cream stucco and cream masonry.
These tinted windows, or are they clear glass?
Clear glass. No, the storefront at the street level would also be clear. The black infill that you see there with our retail space, it's a dark masonry that we'll see there. It's got with patterning in it.
Those windows in your drawing here, they don't read white windows.
No, they're reading more as a diagrammatic at the moment with that dark, reflection. So,
as is usually the case with Jeff's buildings, he travels around and he sees something that he loves, he takes pictures of it and hands it to us. And in this case, this is one of his favorite buildings in New York, is this old limestone building with black steel windows.
Yep.
And he's been wanting to do that for a long time. And so he handed it off, and we've been kind of working with that, especially at the ground level. We can see that
that's black steel windows. You're proposing white steel, white frames. Right?
We're not doing steel windows.
Oh, I understand, but I mean white frames.
White frames on the residential portion. Once you get to the stucco portion of the building, white frames, but on the front where it's all limestone, we'll do black frames.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, we understand and you understand. We're talking conceptually here.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
And we know this is going to be exactly minutely project, so that's fine, so.
I had a question.
I'm sorry, were you finished just a second here and then?
I'm happy to answer questions at this time.
Okay.
Question, you have the south facade of the building, which is pretty close to the YWCA building. And those units that are there, that are south facing, all of them, they really only have windows to the south. So I'm wondering how you feel that will look for the residents, and is there anything that you're thinking about in that alley, maybe working with the YWCA in terms of, I don't know, art on the wall or lighting or something in that courtyard area, that small alleyway courtyard area that could enhance that space, and you know what that would be like for those units when they have just the window facing south and they're looking out at that blank wall and it looks like there isn't much light coming in through there, and you know,
Right.
strategies that you have working with that.
I'll say we're probably not that far down the road yet in terms of thinking about murals and that, but that would be a fantastic wall for a local artist to do a mural on.
How you propose to work with that, you know, the fact that those units only face out.
That's
and
true.
that they're going to be very close to that building.
So we did previously have these buildings effectively on the zero property line with minimal separation. We, over the course of like initial design, we pulled that back 15 feet to introduce that alley as well as offer some streetscape, some landscape, and some ground level lighting that's going to occur within that alley to activate that to an extent. But as Tom mentioned, there's probably some additional consideration.
It's just a very urban space, so.
Sometimes you get a brick wall.
To ask, so I understand that the two towers you have with the limestone bases look, like you said, very traditional, almost like, you know, Beaux-Arts architecture. And the black section, the black brick in between, the smaller section, what is the design concept? Is that going to try to be, you know, look stylistically traditional as well? Or is that going to be a more modern expression, contrasting it? I wasn't sure from the elevation what the design concept was for that.
Yeah, it's intended to be more modern, a more modern hyphen between these two classical towers. It's hard to see from this, but at the,
If
I
you
guess,
go to the previous page, Belkis, or one.
first floor, it has a very large awning that spans the whole length of that black piece that we intend to plant and have, you know, vines and things growing down. It's very common that you see that in New York. I think maybe the Gramercy Hotel has something like that, which is fantastic. But
Question was that the residential entry for the project is on Capitol and where the leasing is on Fourth. And I'm just wondering, as you develop the project, if you feel that there would be any benefit to thinking if the residential entry could be on Fourth, because it's.
I think the residential is on Fourth. I think everybody comes and goes through the leasing office.
Oh, really?
Because that's where Mayo is.
Northwest or northeast corner.
Can you show
Right
where the
there.
residential?
Yeah, right there being that.
Well, maybe I misread it. I thought it was the leasing office entry.
It is, and it's also the residential entry. It's a secondary entry that I referred to that would be off to the
So
north.
that
Yeah.
will serve as both.
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was leasing.
Because that's package delivery, mail, everything happens
Okay,
kind
so
of through
residents
that
will come
leasing.
through there.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Is the facade then on the center section there, the dark thing, is that flush with the sidewalk there?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not recessed, right? So
No,
the
it is
awning
not.
would stick out over the sidewalk?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be an encroachment easement.
Yeah. Any other comments? Yeah, I think it looks great, so.
I think it looks great too. I'm looking at that elevation. It just disappeared.
That's TVs on the fritz, sorry.
The entrance on the left-hand side, that's up against the Y, right?
Yes.
Well, there's a dog
mark. Yeah, so there's
between the Y and the building.
So you wouldn't drive through that alleyway?
No,
that's not the intent, no.
Oh, I see, okay.
So it seems like in the elevation, the two towers and black brick piece are very different, very like that. in plan, it seems awfully flat. It seems like a little bit more articulation of that. You know, maybe the middle piece goes back a little bit, forward a little bit. Or
Yeah.
something. It just seems like
Just a little relief in the facade.
It is about a foot of step back from the towers that we have onto that masonry, and then as we work with the articulation of the limestone, we're going to be adding depth to that as well. So we do have the entablature actually is probably a 1.6 off of the base columns of that. So
I kind of agree when I was asking that. I kind of think that
we should
a little bit more relief, even if it's a couple feet. So
the contrast in elevation was great.
Okay.
Seeing it in 3 dimensions.
Okay, yeah, understood.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments?
Overall, it looks great. I think this is, another exciting development.
Yeah.
I would think about, your mansard roof and how that kind of turns the corner, right? I know it's kind of flat on the side. Maybe you look at that corner and see if that transitions.
Okay.
We can take a look.
Do like the contrast of the towers in the center bay.
Yeah, what is back in the center bay? Is that just the stucco area there and I guess the articulation is pretty much the fenestration on the balcony is pretty much.
Yes, back into the courtyard.
Okay.
You can on the tower parts, the very top 2 floors we are going to have 2-story townhome units, so you can pick up one of those. That would be great.
Dog park is for just this building or the other properties as well that are shared, or even the neighborhood?
Yeah, so for all of our communities downtown, we have shared amenities for all the buildings. So if you have an Edwards urban pass, you can go to any of our projects and use any amenity in any one. So the dog park could be used by folks in the Preston Center, could be used by folks in the Pembroke, but I'm guessing that most people are going to use it from this building.
And the alley that's adjoining it, is that going to be seen as just like a utilitarian way to move in furniture?
That's its primary uses for move-ins. We really struggle with that downtown and finding a good spot where you can park a big truck and get furniture in and out. And we just so happen on this one to have a great spot to do that. But so we'll dress it up a little bit at the ground level, probably some overhead lights and things like that. But it's primarily like a move-in.
Wait a minute, that's where your dog run is, the dog park.
There's a portion of it on the corner. That takes up about 30 feet by 50, if you will.
And so would the trucks go in?
There won't be any truck access into it. It won't be an actual drive alley. The staging will occur themselves.
The big truck, and then just get your stuff down the alley.
You mentioned the top floor where you're going to have 2-story units. If you go back to that elevation again, it looks like where the mansards are there.
Yeah, that would be the loft area of your unit. So you'd have the floor below.
So
okay, good. That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, those two.
So where the mansard with the window is, that's on the second.
The second floor.
Yeah.
So your unit is built within the copper roof.
Should be second to last page, Beckus. Second to last page for the building sections.
The section cut to show.
Oh, one, yeah.
Yes.
So there's our.
That's what I was asking. Yeah. Oh, okay. You're making that.
Yeah.
Maybe a little. I'd say maybe wider, but the height's good on it. But you could. But anyway, it's conceptual. I think it's great. Any other thoughts or comments on this?
That this is gonna be successful. I'm a former resident of the Edward Company community when I first relocated here. And I was very pleased.
Great.
With
awesome.
That community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
See you come back next time. We're both open subjects this one. Get it done.
Any questions from the audience? Anybody? Anything else? Looks great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Okay, we need to approve the approvals. Can I have a motion to do so, please? We have approvals. Thank you. In a second. Thank you. Any questions or comments from Belkis? All those in favor? Those opposed? Great. Anything else we have? Any old business, new business?
That's
Thanks,
everything.
everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good to see you. See you guys.
Thank you.